So you're going through a spiritual awakening, and this tells me that odds are very strong that you have had or you are having issues with relationships as a result of walking this spiritual path. I have been teaching students for 19, 20 years, something like that, and rarely do I find someone who is walking through their spiritual awakening and has zero issues in the relationship department. It's part of the path. It's a difficult part of the path. And today I want to talk about how to navigate that with a little bit more ease, what you can expect as you walk through it. That always helps us manage situations. And lastly, I want to give you a really unique tool that's going to shift a perspective for you that I think will help with a lot of this. So let's do it. I think if you polled 100 people, like Family Feud style, I think if you polled 100 people and said, what are the top 5 issues that you're facing as you walk through a spiritual awakening or as you're raising your vibration, I guarantee one of those is going to be relationship. Relationships are affected by change, which makes sense. 1 + 1 is 2. When you walk down a spiritual path, if you haven't been open your entire life and you're just starting to open up to your intuition or to a deeper connection, things like this, there's healing involved, there's growth involved. And as you raise your vibration, if other people aren't raising their vibration and changing along with you, it can cause some difficulties. Does it always mean an end to it? Nope. But it does mean a transition period that can be difficult. So that's what I want to talk to you about today, kind of give you a little bit of hope. Say, all right, we can do this. We can get through this. Because it can be a little bit of a lonely part too of walking a spiritual path. It can make you feel a little bit lonely if you're having difficulty in the relationship area as a result of it. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. I would bet that you clicked on this and it clicked. The vibe was there. You're like, wait a minute, that's what I'm going through. So welcome to the channel. This whole channel is about helping people hone their intuition, walk their spiritual path, walk through their spiritual awakening. And when we hone our intuition and start using it for our own individual path, the highs get higher, the lows get lower, and our whole ripple effect goes out into the world in a positive way. So do me a favor, click subscribe, share, something like that. It really does help the channel. It helps me to get more people working on their intuition, and that's really what we want. And to my regular podcast listeners, welcome back, my friend. Welcome back, my friend. Okay, here we go. Relationships. Big topic, meaningful topic, emotional topic when it comes to a spiritual path. Today, let's talk about marriage and or long commitment partner. Let's talk about friendships. We can even talk a little bit about work. Let's talk about work first, because that one's the easiest one. Here's my advice: just avoid the person that's bugging you. But that is a light joke. Let's instead cover what's going on here. When you open up spiritually, it is a raise in your vibration, it is a raise in your awareness of your environment, and it is an increase in your awareness of who you really are. So when you stepped into this relationship, whether it's a friend or a partner or a spouse, you stepped into it a different person than you are now. Same thing with your partner, with your spouse or your friend. When you agreed to step into the relationship, you are both different people, and over time, you're both going to change. When the change is dramatic and when the change happens in an area that is uncomfortable for your partner or your friend, it can cause problems. So let's start with a very difficult one. Let's just rip off the Band-Aid. Let's talk about the spouse. It can be very, very hard in a marriage or a long-time committed relationship, or even a short-time committed relationship that you're going to be with them forever. You don't need that piece of paper. You're just, we're here. When you're with your partner and your partner is not open to spirituality, not open to intuition, is struggling to believe these things, it can be difficult because you're walking through the path. You're having these experiences and you want to share your experiences with them because that's what you do as a couple. And you want them to believe you. Now, let's be careful on this one because it's not that you need to be believed, but something real happened to you. And when something real happens to us and people close to us say, I don't believe that, that's very painful. That's very, very painful. It makes us feel unseen. It makes us feel discounted. If I could whisper in the ear of any partner that is struggling with believing, I would say, let's not use the sentence, I don't believe. Let's use a more loving sentence of, I haven't seen anything like that. That's really interesting. Do you want to tell me more? Shutting somebody down because you don't believe what they're experiencing can be really difficult in a close, intimate relationship because you've come together and you've built trust. And now here is this wedge of what feels very strongly as mistrust. And that hurts, especially when you're the one having experience. It would be equivalent to going somewhere, running to the store, walking into the store, and an elderly lady walks up to you and slaps you across the face. Total stranger. And then she just walks away and disappears. And you go home and you tell your spouse that this happened. And they say, no, that wouldn't happen. That's difficult. And that's very painful. And this happens so common, so frequently when somebody's opening up spiritually because they have an experience. Let's say they see a spirit or they get a message and then it instantly comes true, or they see a sign that's just like, wow, I can't believe this. They get excited. They go back to their partner or even to their close friend and say, this is what happened to me. I can't believe it. And when the partner comes back and says that it's a coincidence, or you just think you saw it, or maybe it's, I don't know, it could be anything. I highly doubt it. Anything along those lines, your excitement, your high vibration, which is what you should be feeling as you're walking through this spiritual experience, because between you and me, you saw it. And you experienced the sign. And you share that with somebody, and this person that you're supposed to be safe with and you're supposed to be close with, who does love you, I'm sure, just kind of squashes it, pops your bubble, squashes it, says, that's it. Here's where it's really also difficult. I was gonna say here's where it's really the most difficult, but this isn't the most difficult aspect, I don't think. It slows your growth. It slows your growth on your path because disbelief, that's not real, brushing it off, these are low vibrational approaches. And when you have an experience, you raise your vibration, you're excited about it. Excitement, gratitude is in a higher vibration. You come to this safe place and your guard's down because this is your safe place with this person. And they say something in disbelief. Don't worry, I'm going to have a moment where I'm going to defend your partner. So, because this is not, it's not that it's happening viciously, but you say it in a safe place with your partner and they say, no, that didn't happen. And then your bubble bursts, your vibration drops. As long as your vibration continues to drop down, it's going to take a little bit longer for you to really hone that intuition or get really, really linked into the spiritual aspects that you're going for, because having a high vibration that's being pulled down consistently is emotionally very difficult. Now, let's interject here for a minute, because I'm not big on blaming or blanket statements. I am a bigger fan of possibilities on what could be happening. So we'll go from worst to best. Worst case scenario, you're walking a spiritual path and you have a long time friendship or a long time partner, and you open up and you're so excited and you start to have these beautiful experiences and you share it with them and they kind of cut you off at the knees about it. Worst case scenario is because they're just mean and that's just who they are. And their insecurities are so deep set that they're willing to be mean to you. If that's the case, you already know that. You already know that. Before you opened up, there was already an established pattern. And in this situation, it's a matter of looking into that relationship and asking yourself some questions, right? If I had a friend, would I advise them to be in a relationship with this person? Would I treat people this way? What is my definition of being cared for, and is that happening? So in the worst case scenario, if they're just being mean, they probably already have been for a long time. Now, let's go to the next case scenario. Middle ground scenario. They really struggle with change. They're not being mean. They just really, really struggle with change. And it's going to take them a little bit longer. I'm going to give you some examples. I'm going to walk you through my path. And it's very similar to a lot of people I know. And it's going to give you a little bit of hope, okay? So, but in this middle ground, you approach your partner. They're like, I don't know, right? They're not mean about it. They just can't really get on board. And they're not trying to stop you, and they're not telling you not to follow this path. That's the meanie that I talked about before. And in that case, you should evaluate that relationship structure. In this case, which is the majority of them, it's hitting some sort of a insecure spot. It's hitting something that is rightfully so fear-based. Why do I say rightfully so fear-based? Because I was a skeptic. I know what it is to believe that when I shut my front door at night and lock it, it keeps everyone out. And if you're approaching someone who didn't voluntarily step onto a spiritual path themselves, and you're saying to them, oh, there's a deceased person standing next to you, or I had this experience where all this wild stuff happened, it was really cool. And this is happening for you, and it is real, and you're getting layers of proof that you just can't make it up, right? So you say this to someone, and if they're a skeptic, and if that is their security blanket, very much like mine was, it's going to rattle them. And this is a process that they have to work through as well. So this middle ground is going to be someone who doesn't necessarily negate what you're saying. They just are struggling with it a little bit, and it's making them uncomfortable. So this is probably the easiest one to work with, and it's time. We'll get into that in a little bit when I tell you my story. And then the best case scenario is a partner that says, okay, this is not anything I'm familiar with, and can express, because they have high emotional intelligence, they can express, I'm a little uncomfortable and I'm a little bit spooked out, but I want to be here for you. So maybe we can just take it slow. Right? Those are your three scenarios. Scenario number one, reevaluate that relationship, because you deserve better than that, because you are absolutely amazing. And I guarantee you, the longer you go down your spiritual path, the more friction you're going to feel, just in your own path. And it's going to be a hard burden to carry. You do what you got to do everything that you feel that you can do, be safe in all scenarios, but reevaluate that relationship, because you're worth so much more than that. Middle ground, which is the majority of us that are listening to this episode, they're uncomfortable, they're pulling back, they might be a little bit reactive, or they might be, I don't want to talk about that kind of thing. I'm not saying it's okay or it's fair. I'm saying they're having their own experience with it. And when we can see that, it makes it a little bit easier to navigate as a couple or in a friendship, because then you can say, okay, it's not that they're shutting me down or telling me I can't do this. It's not that they're telling me what's happening isn't, this is not real. They have some insecurities around this. So I can also meet them where they're at as well. In the best case scenario, they're so supportive. Give them the space that they need to. In most all of these, except for the extreme one, right? The middle ground and the easier one, where it's like, this is exciting for you. I haven't experienced anything like that, but maybe, we could just take it slow. In these, it takes time. And once we allow ourselves time, and sadly, I'm going to say it like that because I know that many feel this way. Sadly, they're not going to get on board tomorrow. Sadly, they might not believe you right away. And when we acknowledge that and say, okay, this is where we're at, but we see it through the lens of understanding their discomfort and insecurity and fear, it's a little easier to navigate. Does it make it perfect? No, but it's a little easier. It's a little easier to navigate. we need to get into talking about like support elsewhere as well. And then I've got a really interesting tool for you on how to get comfortable with this. And it's a little bit out there. My guide had me do it, and we'll talk about that. But here we are. Relationships are happening. You're going down one path, they're not. If we can meet each other in the middle, I am a huge advocate for therapy. If you can get therapy going, say, hey, just maybe like twice a month, we go in and check with a therapist as a couple or as two friends. It's wonderful. Now, there are going to be friends, and hopefully not partners, but friends who fade away. And this is very sad. I'm going to address this in my situation too when I tell you my story. It's really difficult. It's really sad. And there's two kinds of friends that are going to be lower vibration for you when you open up spiritually. The first is going to be ones that didn't want you to change and wanted you to stay the same. And that just didn't happen. And you're changing and your lens is changing. You're starting to see the world on a deeper level. That is eventually going to end up in probably the two friends going in different directions. All this means is it was a soul contract between the two of you. That friend came into your life for a reason. We give thanks to that. And it's sad to have two friends kind of go in two different directions, but I'm here to tell you that the friends that are at the right vibration are going to find you. They're going to find you. Oh, and the other friend, the second type of friend that is going to be difficult are the people that when they find out you're on a spiritual path, especially if they find out that you're honing your intuition, et cetera, if they only want to be friends with you for that reason, that can be difficult too. And that's really easy to kind of suss out, because when they talk to you, they don't really want to know your advice. They just want to know what your intuition says, and you'll feel it. You'll feel it. You'll be like, hey, so do you want to go, get some coffee? No. Do you think I should sell my house? Well, I don't know. Could you tap in and figure it out? So that those friendships, I don't even know if you would be able to call those friendships, right? But that's out there too. And that's a little bit of discomfort. So we have ones that'll fade away. We say thank you. They were established friends. We say thank you for that contract. That can be a painful thing to walk through. But what's happening is your vibration has raised and their vibration also has raised, but you're in different vibes now. Right? It's not that you grew and they didn't. That's not what this is about. I know that a lot of people can see spiritual awakening and spiritual paths as being better than somebody else. That's not it. It's just a different path. So one person can come down here and never wake up, and they have a fantastic path and they make huge differences in this world, but they never like wake up that spiritual aspect of themselves. So opening up spiritually is not superior. It's just a different path. So you and your friend are going down two different vibes. The vibes aren't the same anymore. When that friendship fades and when you start walking down this path further, you're going to feel alone. Let's just acknowledge it. The loneliness factor is going to come in. And I'm so sorry. I wish there was something that I could do to change that. I can tell you, I am ferociously building community, and I'm seeing friendships blossoming in this community, and it is an absolute beautiful thing. I did that because I didn't have anyone when I opened up to talk to and to connect with. And so the Sage Circle community is what I have. If you need community, come on in. The doors are open, and you're going to find those people that vibrate at the same rate as you do. But what I'm saying about the vibration is that you and friends are vibrating at different vibes now. You're going down your path and you're at your vibe. Okay. You're at your level. And when you're there and you have less clutter, AKA less connections with people that are not at the same vibration as you, there's more open space to attract more friends. That's a fancy way of saying they're coming. I promise. I promise. I've been working with people 19, 20 years, and I have seen it over and over and over again. We walk into the path, and we start to lose friends, not for any bad reason, just our likes and what we want to do, and everything differs. And then we start feeling a little bit lonely because we walked into this with 4 friends. We got like 1 friend left, and we're thinking, what are we going to do? Well, then we walk through the path, we start to see another friend to pop in, another friend pop in. And the connections are stronger because they see you, they get you, and you see them and you get them. Like you're grooving. Like this is it. All right. The friendships I have today are better than any friendships I've ever experienced before. They're just, I guess I can't say that. I can't compare it, right? Because I got a high school best friend that was just like the best soul on the planet. But the friendships I have today are deep and they're connective, and they are completely accepting of all of me, and I accept all of them. Don't have to be perfect. I can be exactly who I am, and they're excited for me and they encourage me. It's absolutely wonderful. So keep going with that. You'll get there, I promise. But there might be a window of loneliness. But somehow, if you can hear someone say that to you, when you're in the loneliness, sometimes you can go, you know what? I remember someone saying that this is normal for most spiritual paths, and that my true, deep, connective friends that are vibing at the same vibe I am, they're coming. They're right around the corner. And so I'm just going to look forward to that. Sometimes it helps knowing ahead of time something you might go through. Now, here's my story. And I'm sharing all of this information not based on my story, but based on the similarities I've seen with so many students. So many students. But here's my story. So yeah, you might already know. 32, I was a complete skeptic, total skeptic. I have a math degree from college. 1 + 1 is 2. I had nothing to do with spirituality, nothing to do with religion. My grandmother passed. Within an hour or two of her passing, she showed up in my living room in spirit form, scared the pants off me, freaked me out. I thought I had hallucinated, and then I went to the path of, well, if this is real, then I didn't lose her. And I dove in. Scientifically, of course. I don't want to I had to be smart about it. That ended up going out the window too. But after a couple months, I realized that this is real. She came with proof that you cannot walk away from. Next thing I know, I'm telling some friends, telling my husband at the time, spoiler alert, we're divorced. Not for this reason. I know. That would fit into this video really well, right? Like he didn't get on board and we went different ways. That wasn't actually the case. This is going to be an interesting one. So I'm 32, right? So I'm like 10 years into the marriage, 10 years into a marriage. And your spouse all of a sudden can now see the dead. Come on, we got to give some grace to the partner on that one. Because the shoe on the other foot kind of situation, what the heck? Well, he was in that middle ground that I talked about where he's like, all right, I'm uncomfortable with this and I don't believe it myself, but if this is what's happening for you, cool. He didn't want to talk about it very frequently. It was, can you find some friends to talk about this with? So yeah, that wasn't cool, but it was what it was. And I did. And I didn't talk to him as much as I think I would have liked to have talked to a partner. I did find friends and community that I could share these things with and figure out who I am and what's going on. I also had my spirit guide that I was working with, my teaching guide. He's the one that gave me the tool, and I'll give you that tool in a minute. I'll spin through this story as fast as I can. So I open up, and even though that was his approach in the beginning, we were married another 10 years. So he was with me for 10 years of my spiritual path. I've been on my path 20 years. So I'm 10 years out of the marriage. We got 10, 10, and 10 here, right? 10 years married. I don't believe in any of it. 10 years married. I am a psychic medium that works professionally and is teaching people globally. And 10 years post-divorce, which is really good. But those 10 years that I was married, he didn't want to be the first in line for me to talk to about things because it did make him uncomfortable. But over those years, gradually, and this is the hope I want to give you, there were things that would happen that were undeniable, that even he couldn't deny. Oh, can I tell you a fun one? Okay. So, for example, and this one is just like, I don't know. This one isn't like a loving one, but this is an example that happened. We were home and a spirit kind of went through the house, and they felt like they were on their way. Wasn't like I felt like I had to do anything, and I caught it out of the corner of my eye. It wasn't common, but he actually caught it out of the corner of his eye. So where were we at? We were probably about 5 years into me being open. And again, we don't talk about it much, but things happen around him, and he hears things. And at some point he started believing, because it was like, okay, this is all that, it keeps making sense. So spirit walks through the house, and he caught it out of the corner of his eye. And he went, wait a minute, was that a spirit? Did I just see something go past? And I was stunned, because we just don't talk about this stuff. And I said, yeah, spirit just went through the house. Did you see it? He's like, yeah. And then he got cocky. And he was like, all right, if you can hear me, get out of my house. And all of a sudden, he got a monstrous leg cramp, Charlie horse in the side of his leg, to the point where it dropped him down to the ground. He was like, what the heck? He goes, I have a Charlie horse. And I look over to the side, and I see the spirit has now come back into the living room. And I was like, okay, well, this isn't positive. I'm giggling a little, because you were kind of mean to the spirit. You didn't have to say that. Spirit was already gone. And I said, well, why don't you just, gently apologize for being mean to him? And he goes, no, I'm not going to. And the minute he says no, the Charlie horse must have twisted tighter, because he was like, oh, ow. And I was like, okay, seriously, just say you're sorry. I'll work on crossing this person over. Just say you're sorry. And he's like, fine, I'm sorry. And then there was this eerie silence, and he looked at me, and he's like, the Charlie horse went away. And he just left. He just left the room. He's like, I don't want to talk about this. And it was like, well, don't be mean. And then, and he was just being cocky, but don't do that. Anyway, I crossed over, the spirit was done. They're going to have experiences, hopefully not like that one, because that one, while it's slightly humorous, especially when you're telling it about your ex, right? But it just wasn't like the best outcome. Maybe there are other situations. He has had moments where I've said, oh, I feel like the neighbor's going to walk by, or going to come by and say hi. And then he steps out front within 5 minutes, and the neighbor walks by and says hi. So those type of synchronicities, like I remember once he said, oh, I'm going to go get food. And I knew what restaurant he was going to go to. And we had our regulars, because neither of us cooked. And we had like 5 different restaurants that we usually went to. So when he said I was going to go get food, I remember knowing instantly where. And I said, oh, I want a side of fries this time instead of onion rings, or something like that. And that was the order that I did at that particular place. And he just stopped dead in his tracks. He's like, how did you know which place I was going to? And I'm like, intuitive. This is part of this path. So enough of those small little experiences is going to ease them gently into being more accepting of it. Here's the positive. By the time we divorced, it had nothing to do with my spiritual path. As a matter of fact, after we divorced, he even reached out to me to ask if I would do a reading for a friend of his, because he believed so much so. He had had enough experiences. So it is possible for somebody who's not in the spiritual realms to get on board with that this person really is having these experiences, and it really is real. I mean, when you can get to a point where your ex-husband, who, by the way, we were not chatting, we still aren't, but when your ex-husband will actually reach out to you via text to see if you'll read for somebody that just lost a friend, that says volumes. So in the course of those, well, so that'd be like more like 12 years, right? But in the course of the 10 years, there was enough experiences for him to go, okay, there is something here. Yep, this is really going on. So have hope that it's not going to be at your pace. I get it, but it will over time happen, because the truth is they do care about you and they do want to support you, but they have to support you in a realm now that has a little bit of discomfort, and that can be a little bit of a struggle. So with that said, I'm trying to make sure that I've covered everything here. Therapy is fantastic, even if it's just for you. I'm a huge advocate of it. Knowing that your spiritual growth is not based on the recognition of it from your partner is a huge thing to work toward. So needing to be seen and needing to be heard is big. But if somebody's not capable of it, You're not going to emotionally ask somebody in a wheelchair to climb stairs. If they can't do it at this point, but they're still going to love you through it, please witness that, because that might bring some ease. Find community. Oh, and the tool. I got the tool for you. Find community. Find like-minded people that you can talk to. That's what got me through. And that's what helped me to be able to expand and grow. And then that allowed my partner to grow as he was comfortable growing. And that worked for me because I also didn't want to force that upon someone. Your value is not based on your partner's opinion. I'm going to say this again. Your value is not based on your partner's opinion of you. Your value is your value. And if it's seen, it is. If it's not, give them some time. They'll figure it out. They'll figure it out. But you are perfect exactly the way you are. And I respect wanting to be seen. Now, when I was going through this, I felt, so in that window where my partner said, I'm not comfortable talking about this stuff. I don't really want to know about it. Go find some friends that you can talk to. And there was a window of time where I had to find those friends. It's not like you just go to the mall, which nobody even goes to the mall anymore, and just be like, hey, anybody here spiritual and funny and stubborn? Because we'd connect. So it took me a while to find good, solid friends. In that window, my guide, I was talking to him. We were in the woods. It was a place that I would go. If you've read the book Cracking Open, Adventures of a Reluctant Medium, you know the spot I'm talking about. But as I was learning from my teaching guides the first 2 years, my teaching guide, his name was Big Dog. I would go out to this one particular place in the woods and meet with him. And I was crying. I was like, I don't know. I said, guess I can't tell anybody anything. I guess, I'm a weirdo now. I'm this, I'm that. It just brought up all that inner stuff for me. And he said, I want you to do something. And then I want you to come back. He goes, I want you to go walk down that path in the woods. And I want you to find a flower, any flower. And I want you to take 5 minutes. And this is the tool that I'm passing to you. I want you to take 5 minutes and I want you to look at every aspect of that flower. I want you to find things in that flower that is so unusual, something unusual about the petal, about how it sits in the ground, about the color pattern. He says, I want you to go out and I want you to find a flower and just look at every aspect of it, maybe even smell it, feel it, like all these, look for unusual things. So I did. And 5 minutes later, who knows if it was 5 minutes later, I didn't have my phone or anything, but I looked at it for a while. I came back to him and I said, now what? And he said, now you will never, ever tell anyone about that flower. And I thought, I don't think I can do that. That was my first reaction. I have to tell somebody. I saw this one. He goes, no, don't even tell me. Tell no one. There are certain experiences that when you hold them sacred and you do not share them, they feed your soul and your system, in your energetic system, in a way that is so beautiful. That taught me that I didn't have to be validated for every moment that I experienced. And that was an issue for me in the beginning. And I didn't have to be seen, which was a big issue for me because much of my life I wasn't. And I just wanted to be seen. And I wanted somebody to acknowledge what I was going through because most of my childhood, what I was going through was not seen. And so this was a difficult one for me, but he had me do that like once a week. He said, I want you to go out and find something, right? Keep doing that. And this is the tool that I pass to you. So when we get done with this session and, pull the car into the driveway and park, go for a walk or find something and find something that's beautiful, look at it for a while, explore it, smell it, feel it, experience it. Maybe a squirrel's going to run up to you or something, or maybe, heck, we're global, so maybe there's a really cool kangaroo that's going to pop out. It's got a twig in its hand and it's kind of funny. Hold that. Hold that and feel not only the discomfort of wanting to share that with somebody, but you can't, and also feel the beauty of how pure it feels when you hold it in your energy system. This is an odd tool because it's not an instant 1 + 1 = 2, but do this once a week or once a day if you want. If you're like, let's rock this boat, let's get this done, do this once a day if you want. Hold it, never share. Let it be a sacred moment that you never share with another person. And see what comes up as a result of that. Observe it and let it go. Do this on repeat, and you'll start to find this odd balance of enjoying your spiritual path for you, and that you don't need as much validation as maybe you did. And if you do feel that, I respect it. I was knee deep in it. So I hope this episode was helpful, because the relationship piece it can be heavy, and that's a lonely aspect of walking this path. But you got this, and the loneliness will go, I promise. And the people that are supposed to be in your life will come, I promise. And you're going to be so happy. You're going to be so happy. Keep going. Find community. If it's within your own personal circle, within your own town, join me in the Sage Circle. Find somewhere that people get you and they love you and they lift you up. Okay, that's it for this week. I will see you next week.
This podcast is brought to you by the SAGE Method, the most comprehensive and down-to-earth intuitive development training available. Is this your year? Is it finally your time to increase your intuition, bring in more abundance, and experience the bliss you deserve? If yes, then join thousands of students across the world for a 7-week journey to uncover your natural, beautiful, and strong intuition. Visit us at thesagemethod.com for more information.